Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we'll be talking about the spell Hallow.
Hello, hello. What up, what up?
Hello.
Hilarious. We're so funny.
Yeah, this is what keeps people coming back. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. What does Hallow do?
Okay, Hallow's a big, long, super big cast time spell that generally makes an area difficult for things you don't want to coming in. It keeps things that go bump the night out. Mechanically, it takes 24 hours to cast for this 5th level slot. You pick a 60-foot area that you touch. You spend $1,000, which is a lot, but okay. You touch the point and you infuse it with holy or unholy power, whichever your heart desires. Celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead are not allowed to enter the area. Nor can such creatures charm, frighten, possess anyone within it. Any creatures that are charmed, frightened, or possessed whenever they are in it are just no longer. It just dispels all the charms, fears, of possessions, frighten effects that it would be they'd be under anyway. So anyone that was under those effects prior in the area no longer affected. Additionally, you can exclude those types of monsters. So if you're like a summoner, you can be like, I want my undead to work in here as a necromancer. Undead can walk into the circle. Okay. The second thing that happens is you pick an extra effect from this long list, or you work with your DM to pick one that like fits your theme here. This is basically hallowed terrain. This is the sacred church grounds or the unhallowed desecrated zombie apocalypse mausoleum or whatever. The effects that are written are courage, so things in the area just immune to all frightened conditions. Darkness, which just means it's dark. Yep. Daylight is unbelievably bright light. Energy protection is you pick a damage type that is not bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing, and everything in the area gets resistant to that damage type, which is neat. It's particularly good because like if you're against a series of things and some of them are demons, some of them are elementals or whatever, maybe, I don't know. It seems like that's a neat effect. You have energy vulnerability. This one is super cool. So things in the area are vulnerable to a specific type of damage. So if you want to set up like a trap to blow something up with fire damage, you can be fire vulnerability. And then we have everlasting rest, which just is like, this is the most cleric-y of cleric. Things here stay dead. Nothing is allowed to come back to life. If undead cannot be created here. You can get like resurrected, but you can't get turned into undead. Extra-dimensional interference says things can't teleport or use extraplanar nonsense here. Fear frightens everything in the area, which is neat. And there's no save. Just affect creatures that are affected by it immediately are frightened. I'm sorry. It's a charisma saving throw or become frightened. It's listed at the back end of the prior text that I skimmed through. And then we have silence. No enemies can emanate sound, and tongues. Everyone can communicate with each other freely. It's a lot. Most of these, I think, probably could have been subsumed into the, talk to your DM about making cool things. Or choose it says or choose an effect offered by the GM. I feel like in particular, like everlasting rest probably be something you could just have the DM offer. Extra dimensional interference seems like something the GM could offer. I think they probably didn't need to be this long, but it gives you a good list of ideas and examples of how the spell can be used. I love these kinds of effects. I think they're really cool for the game. They don't really, again, feel like how mechanically 5e spells typically work. And thus I'm inclined to say this is more like, I wish this was a ritual that clerics or druids or all the different classes could unlock. I wish this was like obtained through a feat or something, even like attached to a magic item. But as written, I think this is a pretty neat effect that has a decent power on the game in very niche scenarios.
How long does it last? Let's see.
It lasts
until dispelled. Wow.
Dispelled. Yeah. Once you put one down, it's there for good. Which also means like you can like build a bigger and bigger area with this if you have the gold for it. So if you really want a bunch of hallowed ground, you can get a bunch of hallowed ground by spending 1,000 gold for 60 feet.
That's really cool. I like this one. Let's see. There's so much there. Like, all right. I'm just thinking. So once you choose the bonus effect? That
because it will always keep out.
You can't go back and forth there.
No, once you pick the thing, that's locked in. That's what happens. You can recast it over the same area if you want to get additional effects. So you can say like, I've hallowed it for courage. I will then hallow it for daylight. I will then hallow it for everlasting rest, and then you can just like build up this super powered area. That's pretty impractical. You probably don't ever need more than. Like,
I was thinking, effects, get different hallowed areas with different effects, and just keep your enemies on their toes.
Sure. I mean, most of the enemies that you would be caring about probably aren't getting affected by this anyway, unless you're going against like vile humanoids, which, there are vile humanoids. There are giants that will get unaffected by this that it can be very useful for. My fundamental problem with it is, sorry, my microphone's moving all over the place, is my fundamental problem I have with a lot of these like defensive territory spells is if your DM doesn't say we're doing a protection of your castle mission, if your DM doesn't say go hold this ground for however long, these effects can feel pretty mediocre because this isn't something you really can like bust out of your back pocket and cast on the fly. This is something that you have to know you're going to be in an area over and over again that you're going to want to have be defensible. Which missions involving Hallow can be really cool. It can be a really fun payoff for your cleric, for your druid, for your paladin to bust this out. I guess druids don't get it. It's just fiend locks and clerics, but still you could bust this out and be like, I've done the hallowed thing. We've created a sanctuary. We can the fire elementals, the devils, the demons, whatever, they'll be outside of bay, and then only their summoners will be bombarding us with magic, and we can use other effects to sort of mitigate that. That can be a neat fantasy. Again, unfortunately, that's like, despite how cool it is, despite how much I love the premise of this, it feels more like your players are going to stumble into it and be like, this is a hallowed space, and I'm going to use it because it's already hallowed.
Yeah, I was thinking it's also a cool DM tool.
Yeah, that's, I think, where it shines brightest, which is unfortunate because I think in a different game with different priorities, in a game where you are playing more often defensively or more often on the receiving end of incoming enemies, this is a really neat tool to have. That's just not realistically what most of 5e looks like.
I mean, I think that depends on the table, really. You could have that.
Yeah, you could. You could also have an Easter egg, right? Like you could, or an Easter egg hunt. You could also have a merry. What's that? The one book where the man is the deadliest game, the most dangerous game. You could have that as an entire adventure, right? You could have I'm delving into hell itself. You could have you're all on the plane of air and need to go woo a prince. Like D&D games can go anywhere. Most of the time they are going places though. And that's where I think this spell is lackluster. It's not great when you're going places. It's great whenever you want to bunker down somewhere. Again, this is something that you would have to like plan with your DM to say, there's going to be an event where you need to defend a space. You need to know at least 24 hours in advance and to be at that space. And then you can use Hallow.
Yeah. I'm not seeing this as being as rare as you say, but on the other hand, I don't know that I've ever actually had that set of circumstances.
And how you've played a few hours of Dungeons and Dragons in your life, right?
Yeah, one or two.
Yeah. I think this is a really cool dream. I think this is a really cool top end fantasy for the cleric class. I think, again, this is more likely something that as a DM you want to think about. As a DM, you want to say, my players are journeying into the Shadowfell, and I want them to have a space that some other wizard long ago set up as a hallowed space for protection. They find his corpse or whatever out in the woods whenever he decided to leave the hallowed space for a minute, to give them a safe place to short or long rest. This can be a great tool to be like, I can't believe I accidentally almost killed everybody, and I really would like them to get all their hit points back. I'll give them a weird little secret hallow that they can stumble over and have it not necessarily feel super out of place as like a Deus Ex Machina. It's a great tool as like a place to put sanctuaries in dangerous territories for the DM. The odds of your players having 24 hours to set that up, though, in the said dangerous environment is laughable. If they're almost dead in a dangerous space and need 24 hours to set this up, they're going to die, is that outcome, right? So,
well, I mean, if they know they're going to be like searching a bunch of catacombs or something, they can plop one down at the entrance and say, all right, things get too hot, we're gonna retreat back here. And that's that could be a fun little adventure. Like, oh man, we just got in this bad fight. We got to make our way back to the hallowed ground, and that's a race against hit points.
Yeah, absolutely. There's probably some cool little some cool mini games that can occur where this is a base camp you're setting up, right? This is a very, very good defensible position. So if you are doing the deep into dungeons, back in and out kind of gameplay, especially whenever we're at a tier where teleportation magic is very common. So as long as you don't prevent yourself from teleporting into it, you can pretty cleanly and easily just say, oh crap, everyone, we're way in over our heads. Let's go back to the Hallow where we can probably safely long rest against a specific creature type. That could be a use case for it. I just don't I don't see super big long dungeons being that much of the norm anymore, but in those kinds of games, this can be a neat tool against specific creature types. Like there's a lot of little caveats, but even not against specific creature types, having this is a place with energy resistance against fire-based creatures. If you're going against fire giants, you put this outside their temple, give resistance to fire damage. It's a better vantage point to fight them from, right? So
Yeah, I like this sort of thing way better than like a magnificent mansion or tiny
agreed.
hut kind of thing.
100% agreed. I think that this is more interesting by a lot, and it serves a similar enough purpose where if like you wanted a safe place to long rest in certain environments, this will be that. But also, it'll have way cooler implications of this is a permanent space now that we can sort of use as refuge. We can use tactically, and engaging in it tactically, encouraging players to like draw monsters back to certain spots is a really fun adventure, and it encourages some pretty cool communications, pretty cool team building exercises. I don't know. I think it's really neat.
All right, you got a rating for this one?
I think Hallow's unfortunately a 2. I think it's really cool. I think it's really nifty. I think the actual practical use cases of this, as you even mentioned, man, I really think this should be very usable, yet I've never thought of a situation where I'd be like, yeah, I would use it there. That's the reality of Hallow. There will be 1 or 2 times either you will plan it with your DM to say, I want to use Hallow in this cool way, or you'll be in a very specific table where you are doing the dungeon delving and you have a place to come back out to. And even then it's not necessarily amazing because there's still like the whole journey back. It gets worse the deeper in you go. You have to use other resources to get back and forth to it. Like it's not great. It's fine, but it is very cool. And for that reason, I'm a big fan of the spell. It doesn't mean it's good. It's still bad, but it's cool. I like it.
I'm going more optimistic with this one. Gonna just take for granted that I'm not seeing the full potential, and I think I like the potential that I've already come up with. I think it's great. I'm giving it a 4.
Oh, that's ambitious. Okay.
Yeah. Hello. All right, everyone. Well, that was Hallow. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.